All right, welcome inside the Fantasy Sports Locker Room. Chris Meany, S. McLaren, John Collins, Mike Oman. We got Alex here at the Shark Club, downtown Toronto, Dundas and Young. As always, watching some Monday Night Football. Going to talk some fantasy football, Week 10, preview a little bit, Week 11, the rest of the season. Alex, what's going on here at Shark Club besides?
I told her we wouldn't make a talk. I told her she didn't have to talk.
I was just talking. What's going on?
What's going on with football?
Victor.
Yeah. And what is special? Nice wings. 39 cents.
No, that's fine.
What? How much wings cost now? I hope so.
She just treats people at the door, gives a nice little smile.
Look at his face. Come on here, visit, say what up.
And stay for the 39-cent-ish chicken wing.
Look at these. Look at these beers. Look at these beers.
Shark size.
Not said.
All right, so we're going to enjoy the football game. Alex, thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You too.
She'll treat you at the door. You come down, watch some Eagles, Panthers. Guys, where do you want to start? You want to start with Palmer or you want to start with Hillman?
I think the story of the day has got to be the Denver running backs. They've got the headline
It's
here.
Carson Palmer.
Oh, they got a head. I mean,
Well, nobody's rushing to their waiver wire to get Stan, are they? No.
Story of the day is Tony Romo's feeling good.
All right. But the headline
Definitely
said
not the story.
we're going Broncos backs, right? So, interesting situation. Of course, I had a piece out this afternoon that I twice had to rewrite because that situation's kind of evolving. The first thing was dark clouds with Ronnie Hillman even before Sunday's game, right? Adam Gase comes out, says he doesn't love the way that the run game went in general last week. Talking a lot about the offensive line, but anytime you're the lead running back and he says the run game is bad for you, coming off a 10 for 16 effort. Then some stuff comes out about how they're using Julius Thomas in line as a blocker a lot more, and even in the backfield as a blocker because Ronnie Hillman can't pass protect. That ain't so good. Then C.J. Anderson goes up, and now Hillman's he's gone for 2 weeks. So at least two.
In my mind, dropping Hillman off your roster. No good. See you later. Season's almost over.
Yeah, I support that.
Fancy reason.
I mean, I'll let that go. But
Yeah,
time he
Monty
comes
Ball
back,
yeah.
it's week 13. I'm not dropping him. I might drop him for one of the other backs. If I had no other option, I'd take one of those other guys on my roster. Otherwise, you want to hold that Denver running back lottery ticket. Would you agree?
Yeah, we can't say it's a lock that Monty Ball is going to come back and run away with that job because he sure didn't do it for the first 6 weeks of the season.
He did. It seems good timing, though, for Monty Ball to come
Indeed,
back.
I mean, things
Things
looking a lot better today
Yeah.
than they looked a week ago. And again, I was ready to write the post about, hey, keep Ball on your radar before the game. And then Hillman has at least put himself out of the picture for 2 weeks and really, he hasn't started a game there in the first 2 years of his career. I don't think they believe in him as a starting back, even though it went well for a couple of weeks. So his chances of reclaiming the job probably aren't great. You're going to want to have him in case he does. I was all over Ball, who's down 12 pounds, if that's worth anything to us, and clearly motivated, I think, to retake that job. And then there's C.J. Anderson. I mean, Anderson had a nice game, right?
He looks good against a leaky Oakland defense a little bit, but 163 total yards?
Yeah, 143, 154 total yards. I'm 54. 13 carries, 90 yards.
We're ticker at 63. I better change that.
You might have to.
90
Ask
yards,
Eston.
90 yards rushing.
I get these things right more often than not.
Yeah.
90 yards rushing, 64 yards receiving, I think, including a 56-yarder, which now sounds like I'm lying because it might be way low if he had a 56-yard catch. At any rate, nice game. He's weaving around that Oakland tee. That's all good. But this guy played like 50 snaps 44 snaps yesterday. He'd only played 57 all season coming into the game. He was fourth on the depth chart when the year started.
So he's fresh.
So he has fresh legs. So does Gio. So does Monte Ball. And, I just don't think they're confident in C.J. Anderson. It was a nice game. That's it, right?
Yeah, it's a nice game. Yeah, and I like Monty Ball kind of going forward. And you forget, last year he didn't start being productive until around week 10 area.
Indeed, I was thinking about that today.
So, maybe this, his time. And I kind of touched about it last week, Weather's starting to get a little colder. Maybe Peyton Manning.
Start looking to the run game a lot more.
The wind is, balls are looking like ducks out there. They're going to have to rely on the run game.
Peyton Manning loves to pass the ball.
I know.
He threw 40-some-odd pass attempts yesterday in 3 quarters.
They want Monty Ball to be the, their leading rusher. he'll get
They
a
wanted
chance.
him to do that when he started the season. He now has the opportunity. And he's
He'll get
got.
it.
I
Yeah.
agree.
He'll get it
That
back.
said, your number one waiver claim this week is
Is neither one of those guys.
not even CJ Anderson.
No.
I thought it was gonna be CJ
yeah,
Anderson.
it's CJ Anderson. I
You want to own that
do
lottery
that on
ticket.
me. You want CJ Anderson. If you're in the middle of the pack, you need a guy to start 1 week. He's the best guy out there that's going to for sure start on Sunday. You want CJ Anderson.
Does he for sure start on
I
Sunday?
don't know if I want CJ Anderson.
I wanna own
Monty
him.
Ball might play.
You'd for sure
I
start.
want to own him for week 12, maybe. I don't
Maybe.
think he's going to
Yeah,
own
you
the job, but I want to own him for week 12 in
Maybe.
case he's the starting back.
The thing
In
is you're
case.
not going to get Anderson unless you're number one or
Indeed.
number two waiver
Sure.
priority. You're not going to get him.
Maybe if
I
you're in
just-
Essence League, sounds like you might get him.
The biggest question
That's
I think
November.
is
Nice November.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah,
It's November. He's working on it.
I think the biggest question is if you have Hillman, are you dropping him to get Anderson?
I'm dropping him to get Monte Ball, and I am probably dropping him to get CJ Anderson, yes. Right now, he's the third guy on that order. He's not healthy. If they're riding the hot hand, it's hard to get hot not playing.
Ball shouldn't be available though, should he?
66% of
66.
Yahoo?
Yeah.
He's taken. He's available in 34% of Yahoo.
Yeah,
leagues.
that's
While we're talking
So
about
it's probably
Denver,
available on 85% of NFL.com.
that seems to be how the ratios work.
Yeah.
Did you guys see Brock Osweiler when
Yeah,
thought he was going to
he's
get on
trying
the
to get his
field?
helmet.
That's pretty funny.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's what he did.
it's like probably
when
his
Manning
most.
comes in.
That'll be the moment of his career.
Yeah.
Way to go, Brock.
All
All right, that's Denver.
What else you got here?
You're the host.
Hey man, I didn't write the headlines, but I like this one a
You
lot.
don't come in until 7:25. How can you write the headlines?
And it's
How about week 9 headlines?
And
Still
it's-
says week 9 because I didn't update shit. What
Oh,
a professional job we're doing.
Wow. Wait, don't worry.
Damn rooks.
Make sure you get your numbers right.
You can't see it.
Otherwise,
Except for the last
Yardage
one and
are
calling
great.
him Giovanni Bernard.
Weeks,
Weeks.
not a clue.
They're tricky.
Week 10 is the Rooks.
How about them rooks?
they're all awesome.
They are all awesome. Every one of them had an awesome week. And I know we want to avoid like that fluff that just coming to this podcast and be like, Marshawn Lynch was awesome. He was awesome. Jordy Nelson, awesome. Them rooks, awesome.
Dennis Bryant, awesome.
He was awesome. He ran through that
Oh,
secondary.
crazy.
Powerful game. Woo.
Jacksonville. By the time he showed up,
So name one. Let's go.
I think all the main ones are probably owned. Bryant,
getting up there.
Odell. I think the
I
one
think we're
that
just giving them credit where it's due
I think-
here.
all of them that may not be is John Brown. I think he might be the one who's available in all of the leagues. And do we start to like him over Floyd now?
No.
Where's Michael Floyd? Where's he?
Where
been?
he's not getting any targets. He had 4 this week. He got 1 ball, and he's had roughly
He
4
hasn't
or
been
5
getting
every
any
game.
targets.
But
for
you don't
a
want
while.
any part of that passing game anymore. I'm sorry, Drew Stanton. It's over. Larry Fitzgerald,
Andre
maybe,
time.
but
Well, hey, how about
It's
this?
interesting that Palmer didn't do anything in that game, and then Stan comes in the first play, goes over
Yeah.
the top of the ground.
And hey,
touchdown.
you know,
Fine.
we kind of joked that you don't want Stan, but hey, guys in a bye plus matchup, I don't mind starting Drew Stan. You got a lot
there's
of,
better options out there.
you look at those receiving core. You got Floyd, John Brown with big plays. John Brown on one play gets Stanton 7 points.
you've got to be pretty deep into
60
bye week
touchdown.
trouble, given that they're lightening up this week to really need to rely on Drew Stanton. Maybe 2 QB leagues, he's worth an ad.
Teddy Bridgewater's back. He's got the Rams, I believe.
He's got
or sorry,
Chicago.
Teddy Bridgewater has Chicago.
I might even start Ryan Mallett.
RG3 has the Rams. That's what I meant first. Those two guys both way out there. I'd like them both way more than Drew Stanton.
So about Carson Palmer and Drew Stanton, I think there was 3 games that Stanton played significant snaps in earlier this season, and 1 100-yard outing in that. That was from Michael Floyd. I think every other game, so like 3 times 3, John Brown, Larry Fitzgerald, Michael Floyd, every other game was under 60 yards receiving. It's pretty hard to trust any of those guys with Drew Stanton at the center.
Yeah,
With respect to him, he might win some ball games. But
The one thing for
Not
Floyd
fancy.
I did see, his highest usage rate this season was weeks 2 and 3, and that's with Drew Stanton.
And he did have that 100-yard outing
Yeah.
the one week, but he also had like a 9-yard goose egg and a 16-yard game or something like that.
I
It
remember
wasn't
right
good.
around that time when we were here talking about how is Larry Fitzgerald now ahead of Floyd because it looked like Stan
the
was
first
going
game
to
he
Larry
was.
Fitzgerald.
Then the second game he went to Floyd, and the third game he didn't do nothing. And it's a very hard situation to project there, which is why, all things being equal, I'm probably avoiding every one of them. Maybe start Fitz this week.
Maybe Ellington gets a tick up.
Geez, Ellington
Everyone
getting that
else.
goal line work, right? I mean, He didn't have a very good game yesterday, but he had the highest proportion of carries of any back in the NFL. I think he had 18 himself for 23 yards, and Marion Grice got 1. Right? He's owning that backfield, and he got the short yardage work as well, scored a touchdown.
Well, it helps when you're backup and your backup becoming inactive. Stephen Taylor injured, Jordan Dwyer arrested.
Abuse. Yeah. The rest of the rookies, Mike Evans, I mean, he's surpassed Vincent Jackson for me. If somehow I'm super invested in the Tampa pass game and I can choose between the two, I get asked a Vincent Jackson start-sit question every week. And every week I say start Vincent Jackson because he's going to get 13 targets. He did this week. I was right. He had 8 catches for 75 yards. That's fine. But Mike Evans, the more dynamic receiver there. He had 9 targets himself, 7 catches, $125, 249 yards receiving over the last 2 weeks.
He's been doing it ever since he came back from the groin injury. He's been money.
He's been money, and they're giving him the ball. I think he's great. Speaking of groin injuries, Sammy Watkins didn't do anything yesterday, but he did have 10 targets, so he's going to stay involved in that game. Makes me a little sour on Robert Woods, except for maybe short week 10 or week 11.
He's not even that much healthier. Robert Woods worth a lot.
Indeed. Chris Hogan had another touchdown as well, but he's way down the list.
How about Odell Beckham Jr. making Sherman look a little silly in that game?
He did.
Did you see that?
That one catch that he went up over top of him, and then he worked on him all day.
Yeah, and then they got away from him a little bit. Sherman went on Ruben Randall.
Well, so they
and then
adjusted.
he went back on him.
They 100% adjusted in the second half. He only had 2 catches of his 2 catches, 17 yards, or maybe 3 catches, 17 yards in the second half of his big 108-yard day. They adjusted pretty well at halftime, but Odell Beckham showed you what kind of an athlete he was in that first half. Just the like start and stop routes.
Yeah.
And
And
he
then
had
he flew by
Sherman
him.
turned around everywhere. Yeah, it was crazy.
Sherman was playing off of him a lot after that. The first couple of passes where he burned him, he was playing off of him, giving him the respect and giving him end space, and that just goes to show that he's extremely skilled when a guy like Sherman.
Well, and he came
is
out
giving
and
the respect
talked
and
very
working.
highly about him after the game
Yeah,
as
what has
well.
he played? 4 games. He missed all of training camp
Yeah.
as well. So I'm a big fan of Beckham Jr.
He's a guy.
He's a must-start in my opinion. He looks great, and I'm kind of benching Ruben Randall now. He's kind of off my radar.
I'm
It's
off
all-
that. I mean, he did
it's all
play
Odell
against the
Beckham.
Seahawks yesterday, and he did have 9 targets, but I 100% agree.
Yeah.
I'm probably off Odell or Ruben Randall unless I really need wide receiver 3 help.
It's hard to
Um,
trust Eli Manning, but if you're investing, you're putting your trust into Odell Beckham Jr. Or back-to-back 100-yard games.
Yeah, it looks like Jennings might be back this week too.
Yeah.
So that could help out.
That could help.
Eli
Andre
a lot.
Williams is scoring touchdowns and just really not running the ball effectively. I think he had 33 yards or something on the ground this week. That
He
offense,
ran into 4 guys before he finally found the end zone.
at least he got in after running into 4 guys. That offense will look a little better when Rashad Jennings comes back, but it looks pretty good going to Odell Beckham right now. Speaking about rookies, running back Denard Robinson had a nice game. First multi-touchdown game of his career. He had 14 carries for 60 yards against the Cowboys. And what I liked about that is, like, Dallas beat Jacksonville from pillar to post, right?
It was a London whipping.
They gave him a London whooping yesterday. And, and they still found 14 carries for the guy. They did it by barely playing Toby Gerhart, 9 snaps, 2 carries, 9 yards. Not really giving him a lot of work, making sure that Denard Robinson gets the work, which is reason enough to like him as an RB2 every week if they're going to commit to him, even if they're getting blown out. I thought he had a nice game. Props to that.
He's been productive. You got to put him in the lineup. He's getting options through the air as well. A couple targets, 2 or 3 every week, and they're giving him 14 plus touches here. You got to start that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they're slowly learning how to use him. He's always been an athlete. He was drafted as an athlete.
He was drafted as an offensive weapon, right? So they didn't know how to use it.
So
And now they are. Now they're figuring it out.
Martavis Bryant, another touchdown too.
Yeah, 80-yard score. And he had an okay game otherwise. He had 60 yards before that.
And I'm
But
surprised.
But what I like too is that he
down the
was
list
targeted
here.
in the red zone as well.
I'm surprised
Yes,
you just mentioned
and I like that he
On
got
that
it done
interception,
those
he was
ways.
targeted in there.
I
I know. It was like the same
I'm less
thing.
sold about his consistency, and I want to rag on Big Ben a little bit later, so I was saving Bryant. You guys go ahead.
We could save him.
Anything else?
Bryant,
If we're going to do it, Marcus Wheaton played 40 snaps. He played 39. They're still splitting that up pretty good, but he's going to get the targets. He's not going to score every week, guys. It's let's be real about it.
Right, though.
He has been. I understand he's got 6 in 4 games, but
The thing I liked, I mean, you take away that 80-yard touchdown.
he's an upside player.
It's
He's an
3
upside
catches, 63 yards, which is nothing special. But then you mentioned too before he had the red zone look, so that almost was a touchdown. A little better ball, that would have been. He might have had 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, Ben tried to force that into him, I think.
Ben forced a couple of throws to him yesterday, which I guess, like fantasy-wise, is not a bad thing. He's looking his way.
Next up, my boy.
MF Ingram. You know what the F stands for?
Frank. Fred. A curse word?
Yeah, it was a curse word.
Oh.
But let's go.
Mark frickin' Ingram.
Mark Ingram. 30 touches again yesterday. 27 carries. 120 yards rushing, 19 yards through the air. Sound right?
Yeah, and what did I hear last week? Yeah, Carolina, leaky defense. Green Bay, leaky defense. San Fran, a little bit tougher.
Indeed.
Still
And
was
he's
phenomenal.
got a bump shoulder a little bit, but playing through it. He's a workhorse, and it's hard to find that right now in the NFL. There's a lot of committees everywhere. Mark Ingram's handling that load, and I don't care when Pierre Thomas or Kyrie Robinson comes back. I think they realize to be successful, they got to get Ingram the ball, and I think they're going to continue to give him at least 18 touches.
So I think you're right. I think it's going to come down from 30 when those guys get back in the lineup.
But you're still starting 18.
Number one, we don't even know when that is. They're still out indefinitely. Like they're not even talking about these guys. They're both ruled out early this week.
Yeah, Pierre's not going to take any of these carries. That's for sure.
Absolutely not. Pierre's gonna take them. He's gonna take a few, right? He's gonna take a couple of totes. They're not letting Cadet carry the ball at all. He's had 2 in each of the last 2 weeks while they ride Ingram, so they don't view him as a single contributor to the rush game. I think they're gonna let Pierre take a handful of those carries just to bring his workload down a bit. Obviously, Pierre Thomas, when he does return, takes any PPR value that you're seeing from Ferris Cadet. He doesn't retain anything, but I like Mark Ingram regardless. Absolutely.
Yeah, the only thing to hold off on a little bit. It's not just one guy coming back. It is 2. Kyrie Robinson was being used ever since week 1, even if just for 5 to 7 carries a game.
But Mark Ingram was getting 15, 16 touches a game, even when all those guys were in the lineup. And in every game but maybe one this year, when he's had 14 or more touches, he scored 16 fantasy points or more. This week he didn't get in the end zone, did he? No. So this week he came a little shy of that, but he had 140 total yards, right? Nice week. They're giving that guy the ball. He doesn't need 30 touches to be productive.
No, I wouldn't even worry about him even when Kyrie comes back. I mean, even when Kyrie was healthy, he had the fumble. I think he had a fumble, and then he
He'll get some work.
He'll get some work, but I can't
But
see
he's
him
not going to Monte ball his CJ Anderson.
I think that's
not happening.
I think that's a good floor.
Oh,
18
Maybe.
touches for Ingram going forward, even with
And he'll make it work.
healthy Kyrie.
They're going to score some points. They're still in it in the wide open NFC South.
Yeah.
Wild.
Well, Atlanta's
The thing you like about Ingram.
If Atlanta's 2 wins
1400
didn't
away.
come against Tampa Bay, I believe.
Atlanta's schedule is pretty tough. I don't know if you've looked at it, but Atlanta's schedule is pretty tough.
Atlanta not good, but
Listen, while we're talking about the Falcons really quickly, nice game yesterday for Julio Jones. 2 more catches over 20 yards, 8 receptions on 11 targets, $119 yesterday. And what I found really interesting, and I'll talk about a little bit more in my touches and targets piece, is Matt Ryan had slightly more time to throw yesterday. Not a lot more time, slightly more time to throw, and he was under pressure on 32% of his snap attempts, pass attempts, versus 37% on regular, and he found time to give Julio Jones the ball. We'll see if that offensive line can hold up and maybe help a Mike Dio's nose guy as well.
Captain, the veteran S-Jacks.
Veteran S-Jacks, he had a nice day. 18 carries, had 16 coming into the bye. He's starting to get the ball a bit. Yeah.
Got a touchdown, another touchdown. I was saying these veterans, we love our rooks. These veterans, they need some rest. So if you get a veteran after a bye week, it should be good to go. Like Reggie,
unless they play for the Bears.
like Reggie Wayne coming up.
Hey.
This guy, old man Reggie.
After a bye week. He's a veteran. Nice day yesterday.
Old man,
He
old
was
man
part of
Reggie.
the
You're starting Reggie
abysmal
Wayne.
game.
I just traded for him. I used it for Dwayne Bowe, somewhere over Dwayne Bowe.
So I wrote this question down, and it goes to me back to my conversation about Vincent Jackson. Like, Vincent Jackson, he's making nice catches. He's just not as dynamic as Mike Evans right now. Evans seems to be the guy they go to in the opposing half of the field. He's getting shots at the touchdowns. That's all good. But is there a use for a player like Vincent Jackson or like Dwayne Bowe, who's not going to score a touchdown? None of those receivers have scores all year. They might go 16 weeks or 16 games without it. But he's going to get targets. Like, is there a use for that in your lineup?
Yeah, I think when you especially going down to it, a lot of people that go double RB, so their third receiver is probably pretty weak. And even sometimes your flex position is pretty weak. Dwayne Bowe is serviceable there. 6 catches, 60, 70 yards. You're getting 6-7 points. If you're talking about PPR league, then you're talking about a couple more, maybe in the 10 region. But you could live with 7-8 points on.
So putting him in as my flex in a 14-man league.
It's tough with the bye teams coming back. There's only going to be 2 teams on bye after next week.
It makes the pool a lot deeper.
There's 4 gone next week, 2 gone every week after that. So, how much use are you going to have for Dwayne Bowe when you're going to have 2 other teams worth of players to choose from? It's going to be tough to work him in, but he's probably worth picking up if you need
I think
a whole plug.
I think he's worth an ad, and if you have a hold to plug, as you point out, to me, it kind of depends on what I'm doing with the rest of my lineup, right? If I roll with Martavis Bryant, who I know has been awesome 4 weeks in a row, but is probably a higher risk, higher reward type of play. If I'm using him as a 3 and I have a flex spot available where I really want to make sure I get some points, in case Brian goes over or has a more quiet day, then I can use Dwayne Bowe. He had 12 targets this week, 8 receptions, 93 yards, and has 34 targets in his last 4 games. He's caught 25 balls. I can use that.
Yeah.
I can use that if I don't need upside. If I'm projected to lose a matchup and I kind of have my steady regulars going, then I'll probably use that flex spot on a Bryant or on a higher upside play because Bo's not going to score all day.
No. There's less options in KC too. So.
He's an ad though, right? How old is he? Do you know?
Yeah, it's not much. I think it's in the 30, maybe low 40s. So in some, but not very many. Go there, get him. If you're desperate, like John says, he'll get you a non-zero for sure. Whether it's going to be 10 or much more than that.
He will get you a sub 10
not.
non-zero.
Yeah.
He'll get you 6.
Yeah.
6 points. I can use 6 points. Good use them against
He did a
Barnes.
little bit better in PPR leagues too.
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah, it's a good argument though with him and Martavis Bryant. Because you're relying on his touchdowns for Martavis. He hasn't gained them, and it's always exciting to play those guys that give you that reward. And so far, he's come through. Matchup play, I'm probably playing Martavis because I'm greedy and I want those touchdowns. But hey, if you want to play it safe, Dwayne Bowe, yeah, go and play your lineup.
Here's another one while we're on the topic of questionable wide receivers. Steve Smith Sr. Are you still starting with confidence?
Yeah. He's still getting balls. He's still getting lots of balls.
Torrey
doing
Smith
much
have
of them?
touchdowns in his last 4 games too, right?
He does.
4 or 5.
There's a gap in there, so it's either 5 of his last 6 or 3 of his last 4. There's a gap in there somewhere. I don't know which. Torrey Smith had the game yesterday. He had 8 targets. He out-targeted Steve Smith, but Smith had 7 himself. He's just not getting it done. I understand, but he's still getting balls thrown to him. He showed a lot of upside in that offense earlier this season, and I've got it written down somewhere. Torrey Smith has 35 targets over the last since week 5. Steve Smith has 42. So Smith is still getting a lot of work. They're just spreading the ball around more, and maybe he's more right now of a Dwayne Bowe style use than he is a start with confidence use every week, which I guess is what you asked me. But I'm not panicking on Steve Smith, I guess is my point.
Flacco's the lead, eh?
Owen
Top 10 quarterback in this area.
Owen Daniels ownership for anything?
I saw that today. He's got the 9
gotta be sub
fantasy
40
points for quarterback.
I mean, I'm rolling. I would roll him as
Low
a
plus,
he was
yeah.
dropped in a
Low
lot of leagues after he got hurt. Owen Daniels. I'm starting him as a flex over probably a Dwayne Bowe.
Owen Daniels burned me this.
Flacco keeps looking at him.
Should we talk about Michael Rivera a little bit? Again, another huge game. He had 20 targets heading into yesterday's game, and I believe he had 9 targets, 6 catches, a touchdown. And he had 18 points.
He had 11 targets the week prior, and I think he had 8 or
Yeah, he had 20 in 2 games coming in. Yeah.
And then he had another.
And then he had another 8 or 9 yesterday with a touchdown. I think 18 points. I had him in the.
It was only 46 yards in standard 46 yards before that last play of the game.
Garbage time goal.
Yeah, but he is getting the looks, and 46 yards isn't bad, especially with all these tight ends that are down to injury. Jason Witten is on bye this week. The guy a lot of people are probably starting still. So
And that's against the Broncos. They got a great defense.
Delaney Walker might be dead.
He's got a concussion. If I'm a Delaney Walker owner,
Cameron's still dead.
check the casket, and you led me to that, and then I did that, which was way worse. Whatever, it happened. But if I'm a Walker owner, you could add Rivera. There's going to be volume. The whole problem with that passing game in Oakland, though, is they spread the ball around so much, right?
And Holmes didn't have one catch.
Holmes had one target yesterday. He played like 70% of their snaps, like 4 snaps behind James Jones, one target. I'm not sure what that's about, but I don't trust him anymore. James Jones had 12 targets yesterday, 8 receptions, 20 yards.
20 yards.
It's ridiculous.
I feel like
I've never seen anything
Rivera
like
is
that.
cars.
I like Rivera. And
He's
people make up the argument, it's a garbage time touchdown. That's not going to happen.
They're gonna
That's
play
going to
garbage
happen
time.
because
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
always in garbage time out of the game.
I agree
They're in
with that.
San Diego next week. They're a top 10 team against the tight end, which isn't great. But I do like him out of that bottom tier or tight ends.
And
where
he was
people
like
are looking to
solid,
start.
not spectacular last year too, right? He was a guy you started to notice late in the season last year, so it's not like he's completely coming out of nowhere. You can use the targets if you are, if you own Vernon Davis, you might want to have Michael Rivera.
Since we're on tight ends, we might as well talk about Rudolph too, because we saw
coming
with
back.
Chicago, like they give up the most points to tight ends. They give up the second most points to quarterbacks.
Did 2
Rudolph
tight
coming
ends
in.
score against them
2
yesterday?
tight ends scored against them yesterday. He's coming
Did
back.
3 tight ends score against them yesterday? Did Richard Rodgers score? Rodgers, Wallace, and Brandon Bostic?
I don't know if Rodgers scored.
Brandon Bostic's for sure.
Bostic,
Did Rodgers
I
not
don't
score?
think Rodgers is one I don't know.
Anyway, yeah,
But
giving
still,
up lots of
Probably.
2 tight ends that nothing special score against you. Rudolph. Rudolph, he comes back, maybe you can start him. Maybe, it was a little tough first game back.
It's hard to trust him in that first game, but a rookie quarterback might lean on the tight end.
Yeah.
You saw him use Chase Ford a little bit, and Rhett Ellison as well. Let's pay attention to the reports. If you feel like he's healthy, go for it.
Yeah.
He's an ad.
3 pretty bad tight ends can score against the Bears. A pretty good one in Kyle Rudolph in a North Turner system.
Might be
Is
able to
more
swing.
than likely going to put at least one in there.
More
Let's be
than likely.
fair. Rodgers is a
confidence.
heck of a quarterback compared to Teddy Bridgewater.
Oh my gosh, that game last night was a clinic. So I was talking about how Oakland spreads the ball around a little bit. There are a lot of teams that are doing that right now, and a lot of them doing it at the running back position. Next question is the backfield bungling. I feel like there are coaches in the NFL who just hate fantasy football. One of them's Ken Wisenhunt, by the way, giving Bishop Sankey's scores away to Leon Washington and the fumbler Sean Green. They're not on this list, but in terms of ability to produce a starting running back each week, I wanted to ask the question, rank these backfields. Tampa Bay, St. Louis, Cleveland, Buffalo, Atlanta. And not just produce a start-worthy back, but who that start-worthy back is.
I think that Mason is clearly the guy in St. Louis now.
Played 63% of snaps yesterday, and he got all the work. Zach Stacy got sat down. So you think
had a decent day.
Sims?
And Cunningham had a decent day.
Benny Cunningham had a touchdown. He only had 4 carries and 3 receptions, I think.
It was
It
definitely
was Mason.
And that's against one of the best, defensive run teams in the league in Arizona.
And exactly, and Mason had 14 carries and 6 pass targets. He was the most targeted pass catcher on the team yesterday.
clearly number one.
He's going to
yesterday.
get used, and it was a tough matchup, as you point
And
out.
it's interesting, Tampa, Sims' first game, I know he didn't have a great game, but he had more carries than anybody else. He didn't have more rushing yards. I think it was actually
Josh McCown.
Josh McCown who had more rushing
Yeah,
yards.
but
than him.
Josh McCown
So,
started him up.
Also, very aggressive.
He was sad. Did you hear he was sad yesterday? He was super heartbroken about
Yeah, I saw that.
losing that game. What'd you
I
say?
feel for the
Sorry?
fans.
Sims, decent day. Like you said, got some work.
He
But
was.
aggressively put one on the ground. He's not.
Yeah, that was an I want to fumble.
Yeah, right.
It was a
Get
rookie
out.
mistake. He did have 8
Chalk it up
carries.
to some nerves.
8 carries for 23 yards. We will chalk it up to nerves. He was getting used a lot before that. But what's interesting is that Bobby Rainey had 5 pass targets yesterday. he played, I don't have it in front of me, but he played a whole lot of pass blocking snaps as well. And he ran a lot of pass routes where he wasn't targeted. I think they view him as the passing down back there. Tampa Bay at 1-8, probably going to pass a whole lot. So it's hard to get behind Charles Sims, especially with Doug Martin coming back as a guaranteed guy for even 14 touches any week, because Bobby Rainey's got to be used in the second half of a lot of football games. That's how I see that.
For me, T-Bay's probably the lowest on that list. It's going to be hard to trust 3 guys that are.
Yeah, that's fair. And this is a guy that really jumped on board the Charles Sims bandwagon a few weeks ago as well. I'm not overreacting to a game where he was okay, not awful. I still think he's the lead early down back.
Bryce Brown looked pretty good in Buffalo, but I think you're going to see Fred Jackson.
Obviously, Fred Jackson didn't play a lot, but Bryce Brown also lost a fumble.
Yeah,
But did he show you?
I didn't defender to get that ball. Yeah, he jumped out of nowhere and swatted that right near the line. That was a hell of a play.
What I like about Brown over the man they call Booby, who had a nice day, 9 carries, 62 yards, is that he has the skill set to complement Fred Jackson, right? He looks a lot more like C.J. Spiller than does Anthony Dixon. So when Fred Jackson comes back, I know he's in your piece this week as an ad.
Yeah, Bryce Brown. I think he's number 3, number 4. And that's in terms of who's the most startable this week. Once again, a short week. Fred Jackson probably is going to be a whole lot healthier than he was on Sunday. So if you want to start somebody from that game really badly,
do you want to start anybody against Miami, though, really bad?
No. But I almost want a Bills fan. A lot of those.
Bryce Brown, that's what they got him there for. His explosive plays, and we saw a little bit of that. But it's hard to get too excited with Fred Jackson.
And we believe in Fred Jackson coming back to lead the charge once you guys get healthy. Maybe not week 11. Cleveland, that was Thursday night, so we may have forgotten about it. All those running backs scored touchdowns. Yeah. To me, that was the most positive sign, frankly, is that they all ran well, where the offensive line had not graded out so well in the wake of the Alex Mack injury. Let's take a look at how it shakes out in week 11. I think you're going to see Terrence West be the man again this week. He certainly didn't do anything to give up that job.
Well, it's becoming quite obvious ever since he was a healthy scratch in week 3, I think, maybe week 5, that he's the best back in that system. Mike Pettin just doesn't seem to want to realize it at all.
And so speaking of him not realizing it, actually, they're sour on Ben Tate, I think, which is unfortunate. I think he actually fits the system okay. He just had a really rough stretch. In the first half, while that game still mattered, before we realized that Andy Dalton was like a total mess, 9 carries for Terrence West, 8 carries for Isaiah Crowell. Now, West did, the closeout duties in the second half, but while the game was being decided, it was actually pretty even. So to lead the committee, I'm not on him to get 20-plus touches every week. Atlanta backfield, we talked a little bit about Steven Jackson. He's had 34 carries the last 2 weeks. He's not playing a high percentage of snaps, so he's always, that workload might be in jeopardy, and they're splitting the other carries among 3 other backs. But, hey, he ran hard, and the formula works pretty well for Atlanta this week. They don't play Tampa every week.
Against Carolina, though, that's a bad rush defense as well.
Indeed, that's a good point.
If you're in a bottom 15 run defense, you can maybe try Steven Jackson out there. Ain't no thing.
I know he's a good flex back. He's gonna get some work. We just not a huge upside there. Essen, you made me write this one down. I'm conscious that we're running a little tight on time. I like the conversation though. How about the Ryan Mallett factor in Houston?
Cleveland number 1 D this week.
Okay, what do you make of it?
This is what I make of the Cleveland thing. Hey, they have the second most picks in the NFL. They have at least 8 fantasy points in
it's going to be
last 6 games.
DST.
They have at least 2. They have at least 2 sacks.
Setting up that DST stream.
They have at least 2 sacks in 6 straight games. They have at least 2 sacks in 7 of their 8 games. They have the second most fantasy points among defenses over the past.
Yeah, good.
They look great. They put up 17 points last week. Go get them and start them.
That's
and
great.
keep them in there.
So that's great.
Love it.
It's a very good tidbit. I thank you for sharing it. I love it too.
I have no respect for Mallett.
I don't have a ton of respect for Mallett either. I'm not talking about him as a fantasy quarterback. Here's what I'm talking about, and I wonder if Essen's thinking the same thing I'm thinking. DeAndre Hopkins?
Yeah. Maybe not so good for DeAndre Hopkins. Andre Johnson's the one who's been
I should have talked first.
singing his praises, pumping his tires all season long, ever since that trade with New England. Up against a tough defense this week. But, in 2 quarterback leagues, deep ones, maybe worth a look. In daily games with 2 quarterbacks, probably worth a chance in GPP format.
I'd rather start Drew Stanton than those Cardinal receivers.
2 great receiving options and a great running back.
3 good receiving options in Arizona.
I love the cheap quarterback as a GPP play, by the way. I'm going with Mark Sanchez this week. I'm hoping that it pays off here on Monday night.
I'm nervous.
I don't know. To Chris's point, it is a tough matchup this week. And I actually take a totally contrary viewpoint to you on the receivers there. Ryan Mallett, his signature is number 1, prototypical size for a quarterback. Number 2, big arm. This guy can throw deep. He loves to throw deep. Will Bill O'Brien let him do it in the early going? Probably not. This has been a very conservative offense with Ryan Fitzpatrick. It'll remain so. But he has more zip on the deep ball than does Fitzpatrick. When they take their shots, I like those shots to go to Hopkins. Their ADOT average depth of target this year, significantly higher for DeAndre Hopkins. I think he's 13.3, which is among the top 25 in the league. Andre Johnson is 10.4. So he's getting deeper targets. He's already doing more yards per reception. I think that the move to a guy who can wing the ball downfield helps the younger receiver a lot more than it helps the veteran. And not to mention Ryan Mallett's like 25, something like that, 24. He's a younger dude. I think there's chemistry there more with Hopkins than with AJ, who I think is just playing up a string, dude.
I think there were some reports too when his game started that Johnson was pretty excited about it. He was pumped and wanted him to be the guy.
That's actually what Eston said.
The good thing with Hopkins, more attention for now might change soon, but more attention will probably be on Andre Johnson.
DeAndre Hopkins, he's taking advantage of that already this year. He's already been the more effective receiver.
Because he's getting those one-on-ones on the outside, and if Mallett sees that, we're going deep.
He's gonna take his shots. If they let him take the reins off, they might not do that in week 1 or the first week. Interesting. It's an interesting conversation. Maybe it's good all around just because they put the ball in the air deep a little more, based on his skill set, not necessarily based on the offensive philosophy. We'll see how it goes. Start Cleveland D next week. Start anybody against a guy making his first career start. Start him. Fire him up. That's an answer. Do I have time for this?
Yeah.
So
Sanchez warming up.
I see Trent Dilfer's hat. I know you're watching the ESPN pregame show right now and not our show. But when you watch this on repeat, Trent Dilfer's hat. It's a nice hat.
Let's go. Raise it up.
So, Big Ben's road woes, guys. Final Fantasy stat line, not awful. He had 340 yards or something like that through the air. He obviously found Bryant for that 4th quarter touchdown. He had 2 picks. Wasn't all that good. And
He had a great better second half.
against a prevent perhaps defense. The Jets dialed everything down in the second half. They were never up by a ton, but they dialed everything down in the second half, including, I think, their pass pressure. Better second half, but he was dialed in the last 2, even 3 weeks. This is a guy that threw 12 touchdowns in the last 2 games, goes on the road, throws 1, and
against a secondary that's allowed the most in the NFL.
Against a secondary that's allowed the most passing touchdowns in the league. He's got 4 road passing touchdowns this season. 4. That is a significant split difference. That is when I start to think that it means something. Not only Big Ben, but Todd Haley has taken a little bit of criticism for the way he calls plays away from Pittsburgh as well. I think the magic happens when they're at home. I think he's a good weekly play at home. Last week we said he'd finish the season as a top 10 fantasy quarterback. He probably still does. Ahead of Joe Flacco.
Yeah, I know.
But
Flacco's number 9.
I know, it's crazy. But I really think he's a guy like Drew Brees for me, where I start thinking about his use away from home.
This has been one of the most. It's been one
right now.
I know, it's a good game. This to me one of the most surprising things in the league right now. Is there's been a whole ton of road rows for everybody. A lot of quarterbacks.
Ton of what?
Sorry?
Road rows?
Road woes.
Road woes.
Road woes.
I heard road rows.
Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. You know, your Peyton Manning's, your Drew Brees. No, sorry, not Drew Brees, actually. Your Peyton Manning's, your Andrew Luck's, your Aaron Rodgers. Those guys are dynamite. Even Drew Brees, he doesn't look so great on the road. Tom Brady, does he look good on the road? He's a G. But there's been, Matt Ryan away from the dome, not so good. Drew Brees away from his dome, not very good. Big Ben, not very good. A lot of guys struggle on the road, and it's something you got to look at going forward.
I really don't think that Ben got going yesterday. There was some fumbles, kick returns, Antonio Brown fumbles. I couldn't really get the offense going in the first half.
He made some bad throws.
He did make a couple of bad throws, but there was a point in the game where Pittsburgh had 1 yard, and the Jets had over 200.
And that's a good defense of Big Ben.
Yes.
I see what you're saying, but he had 1 yard. He was there.
I get it. Yeah, no, I get it. But it's like a lot
and
of
some of that's on the OC as well, which is kind of the larger point. I'm not trying to put all the blame necessarily on the quarterback, and I'm not trying to turn like a guy we were high on a week ago into a guy who's a pariah this week. But pay attention to those splits. It informs your move ahead strategy. It informs your GPP, your DFS selections, I think, and to me, it informs your draft strategy next year. I talked a lot about Drew Brees and his home road splits coming into this season. Why I like Aaron Rodgers more, feeling really good about that right now. I think you start looking even deeper than that in 2014 and think about you want a consistent quarterback at any position, and you want consistency. You know that's a thing for me. But you don't want a quarterback who you're going to have to wonder every week if he's going to throw touchdowns. He's got 4 road touchdowns this year. That's awful. This is not good.
Outside of the top 3 quarterbacks, like you said, with Luck and Peyton, fine, put Brady in there, and Rodgers, I don't want anybody. And I'm willing just to wait until end of drafts going forward. I think I've changed my strategy this year.
I think we're all – we talked about this off air.
Find a quarterback.
I'm a first-round
QB
QB
end of the draft or off the waiver wire. Was Philip Rivers drafted in your league? Probably not.
Late. He was drafted. He wasn't drafted in 2013.
That makes those
not
teams,
until the end.
So I'm first round or nobody. I'm not a middle round quarterback guy. I'm into that.
That's what made teams like Andrew Luck this year so valuable because they got him in the 4th, 5th, and they're able to get a couple great studs in the first 3 rounds of receivers and running backs.
Monday night. Mark Sanchez showing highlights.
Wait, quick.
Never mind.
I was gonna say quickly, Martavis Bryant. We kind of touched on him a little bit. I love him though, and we talked about Big Ben. I like him going forward because those receivers are just so good.
Yeah, I am not playing Big Ben on the road.
I still feel
I like
what I did last week about Ben. I still like him.
Yeah, Martavis Bryant too. Man, this guy, 6'4", he's gonna get targets.
He doesn't know his weight. 6'4", maybe 290.
I think he's 200 at least. It's like he's gonna get targets consistently. I gotta start him.
Absolutely, especially most people singling in or double teaming Brown.
Yeah,
Antonio Brown. And then it goes good for Ryan.
It's gonna be hard not to start him.
It is gonna be hard not to use him. I'm just saying, be mindful that sometime the other shoe drops here. He's not gonna score a touchdown every week. He's not gonna do it.
All right, on to Monday night. Sanchez era starting. Really?
Sanchez era starting. We talked about this last week. I think you remain as confident in his ability to
Run the offense?
To run the offense and to be fantasy football productive and keep the other guys productive in a Chip Kelly offense.
Yes, I do. I said it last week. Chip Kelly, he wanted Sanchez. He liked him. Pac-10 quarterback. Used to the Pac-10. Knows that he can run it. He wouldn't have went out and signed him. And a lot of people thought that Sanchez outplayed Foles, and he did actually outplay Foles in the preseason. I know it was only preseason, but he did. He looked better. He looked sharper. The throws were short. I'm worried a little bit about Macklin going forward. I still think he's going to get the majority of the targets to be fine. And again, I like Matthews.
I'm a little worried about his deep ball compared to what Nick Foles has given Jeremy Macklin. I agree. Yeah. But I'm still into him as a WR1 for sure the rest of the way.
And I think you're going to see a better game from Shady going forward.
This is where I'm really excited to watch.
Mathis is in the lineup tonight too. He hasn't played since week 1.
So no coincidence that offensive line getting a little bit healthier. They're still finding issues weekly with guys getting hurt, but getting a little healthier. McCoy's had his best 2 games the last 2 weeks. I think he carries that momentum into a game against Carolina defense that really hasn't stopped the run. And I think that we discussed it last week. They looked a lot better running the football with Mark Sanchez in there. It just looked
more athletic.
more athletic. It just looked like a more believable read option, play action, everything. So I'm watching that run game tonight.
I think you're going to see them use it a lot at the start of the game. I think they're going to run the ball a lot.
I think
And,
too, I'm all over
that's,
Shady.
and that's why I like
Yeah,
Sanchez.
I got him, Sanchez, and Calvin going today.
I like Sanchez going forward because you got such a presence with Shady McCoy, where the defense is going to focus on that one play action. Defense bites, Macklin wide open, touchdown. You know, and those plays are going to present
And
themselves.
what I've
Reason enough to
learned-
like maybe believe in Jeremy Macklin.
Yeah.
I agree. That's why I'm not worried.
I don't know what else you can say about Macklin, but one thing I've learned from him this year is he is fast. He's a lot faster than I thought he was. He's blowing by a lot of defenders, and I think he didn't see that because it was always Deshaun Jackson who was gone.
Because that was his role. Now it's his role to go deep. The other side of the game, we should probably mention that Carolina's playing.
Yeah, Calvin Benjamin probably in for a day.
Cam Newton off a couple of rough weeks. I'd like to see him rebound. Certainly has a good matchup to do it. Kelvin Benjamin in for a day. Although he is, he's more a body type receiver than a speed receiver, and those are the guys who burnt Philly the last couple of weeks. John Brown, absolutely. Those are the guys that have burnt him. We'll see how it goes for Benjamin. I'm still definitely in on him.
We're
He's gonna
talking
have
about
another
those
8+
backfields
targets.
that are just a wreck right now. Carolina.
That one's been a wreck for years, though.
Yeah, right. But
I think Cam Newton's going to have a pretty productive game.
I would start D'Angelo Williams over 50% of the list that we just mentioned. You think? Not over Trey Mason, probably. Tying him with S-Jax, probably. I'm not even starting him over Terrence West right now because I'm a little bit unsure.
Terrence West ahead of him. Jack's probably slightly ahead.
And we briefly mentioned, if you're listening right now, go pick up Jordan Matthews. I do like him. I was reading a bunch of articles. They were like BFFs in training camp. It was a running joke. They said every time there was a touchdown caught, they'd be like, "Oh, must be
That
Jordan
offense,
Matthews." Because Sanchez was always looking.
And I
for
don't
him.
think it's going to slow down. So they run a play every 23 seconds or so, and that's fastest in the league. 72 plays a game. That's the most. I don't think it's going to slow down at all.
I think that's what he does. That's Chip Kelly. That's what he demands of his players. I think he tried to do that if he had a quarterback who wasn't equipped to do it.
Yes.
Good news, Mark Sanchez is equipped to do it. Bad news, maybe Nick Foles wasn't. And I'm not trying to pile on here. This is a guy we loved last year. This is a guy I drafted in our Shark Club league fairly high. So I'm not trying to pile on Nick Foles, but I'm saying we have a better fit for this system in at quarterback tonight. And as long as he can avoid being Mark Sanchez, I think he's going to do pretty well.
Fun fact, Chip Kelly hasn't played Cam Newton in the NFL yet, but he played him in the BCS championship game in 2011, and he didn't have good success against Cam. That doesn't really matter. It's not whatever. But Cam had a pretty good day for Auburn. They ended up winning a championship over the Ducks. Fun fact. Tell Norm. Fun fact. Tell Norm. Norm, fan of the show. That's funny. Normand. Follow him on Twitter. All right. Wraps it up, I guess. Catch you next
That's
week.
it.
Monday. Come down, watch some football.
See you around, guys.
See those hostesses. Come by.